Welcome to the Impact Business Show. I'm your host, Annalise Warren, a marketing agency CEO, business strategist, digital marketing mentor, wife, and mama of 4 little ones. Stay tuned for conversations with successful, purpose-driven business leaders, as well as practical marketing strategies that you can action right away. We are here to help you master your marketing, build your business, and change the world. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Now, this episode of the podcast was one of my favorite that I've ever done. So I interviewed Lynda Cormier, and she is an incredible businesswoman who, with too many accolades to name, she has an incredible story of growing really successful businesses and teaching over 30 years. She helps women discover their extraordinary and helps to propel them into living life fully and joyfully and heroically and authentically and successfully. And she does this through her speaking and her membership. And I'm so excited to link you with Lynda if you aren't aware of what she does. And this is actually episode 1 of 2. So I interviewed her a couple of months apart, and I'm really excited for you to hear both of these one week after the other, so that you can hear her story and you can hear the evolution of, what has been going on through COVID and after COVID. And I'm really thrilled and honored that I got to speak with Lynda, not just once, but twice. And I know that I was just like a sponge and I learned so much. So really sit down with a cuppa for this one. I hope that you lean in, and excuse my very basic questioning. I was in awe and had no idea how to phrase my questions. Lynda is incredible, and I'm going to stop talking so that I'm going to let you dive into the episode now. But please enjoy this interview with Lynda Cormier.
All right. Welcome to the show, Lynda.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so excited for this interview. Could you please, just for everyone who might not know who you are, introduce yourself and what it is that you're doing?
Well, my name's Lynda Cormier Hanser. I've kept my first married name Cormier because that was so much of my career was under that name. Happily remarried to my husband, so it's Cormier Hanser, and I have multiple businesses. It's so hard it should be such a simple question, like, tell us what you do. It should be simple. But for the most part, I guess what I do is I work a lot with women and a few good men, to help them really find their voice, use their voice, most importantly, trust their voice, because I think that the world really needs for people to live out their greatest expression of themselves, whether it's in business or in their family life. And so that's kind of what I've been doing my whole life. This phrase I learned when I was younger: businesses don't grow, people grow and take businesses with them. And so the bulk of my career has been helping people kind of grow into themselves and their gifts. And then in doing that, they bring their business with them. I've brought my business with, expanded through there. And then last year, 2020 being such a tumultuous year and a year of disruption and transformation and revelations, I've started a nonprofit, and I'm super excited to be connected to a solution to what I think are some of the bigger problems in the world.
Awesome. So tell us a bit about your career, and what that looked like, and then let's dig into the nonprofit as well.
Okay, so I graduated from college in English literature. I studied Shakespeare in Cambridge, and I loved my major, but realized shortly thereafter that the world really didn't need a lot of experts in Shakespeare. And though I loved language and writing and reading and all of that, I was also told by my dad, so now what? Now what are you going to do? How are you going to support yourself? So I fell into sales, and I started selling fax machines, believe it or not, before they were even a thing. And so it was, in retrospect, I was like, 25 years old and selling fax machines to people. And the only way that they even mattered is if somebody else had a fax machine, and nobody else had fax machines, because in order to receive a fax, somebody else had to have it.
That's so funny.
It's absolutely hysterical. And it's now that I've been doing more and more of these interviews, kind of reflecting back on that first part of my career. But the truth is that I ended up in sales. I was very successful. And I was about 26, 27 years old. I did not know that I had set some record with the company. This was no longer the fax machine company, by the way, but I had set some record of acquiring the most amount of new accounts for the company. So they sent me to a convention where all the new representatives were going to be there. There was about 400, mostly men. And here I was like 26, 27, and they wanted me to tell them why and how I was successful. And what I know they expected was how to overcome objections, right? Negotiation tactics, all the things that back then we were trained on. And I didn't, that's not what my training was. My training was open your mouth and your heart at the same time, connect to people. Imagine that they are your friends, because they are, and they're just members of I always say our greatest team that we could be on is humanity. And I always saw my potential customers as part of my team. And so ever since that was kind of what launched my career. It was before kind of inspirational speaking. That wasn't even like on my radar as a vocation, that they were speakers. This is many, many, many years ago. But that's kind of what unfolded. Is from that point on, I really would say the bulk of my career had been in speaking and training and working with teams and leadership. And then I was hired to do one of my events and fell in love with the partner in the business. I was going through a divorce myself and not looking for another partner in life. But the long story short is I ended up getting remarried to the love of my life. And we've built our own company in addition to me continuing to do the things that I've always done.
That's amazing. And I love that it all stemmed from you as a human connecting with humans. It's beautiful. And it's how business should be.
It really is. I was very fortunate. My father was very successful in business in the telecommunications industry. And I can remember being 8 years old and being on a Saturday or Sunday at his office and running around and playing with typewriters and using whiteout for the, I don't know if your listeners are going to know what whiteout is, but it's
I know. I remember whiteout.
Playing with whiteout. And I asked him, why are we here on a Saturday? Nobody's here. There was normally 75 employees. And he said, well, honey, when no one's here, I can make sure that I'm taking care of things and looking at the paperwork. And he said, where do you think money comes from anyways? Well, I was only 8. So my answer was very honest and quick. And I said, well, money comes from you.
Yeah.
And he said, no, money comes from providing value. And if you focus on providing value, you're never going to have to worry about money in your life. And I didn't realize it until many, many years later, but I always remembered that conversation because it was, one of those moments, I guess, that you remember. And that's kind of, I felt like I got my first business school class,
Yeah. And it's a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. He was a good one. He passed away over 30 years ago, actually now. So he's very young.
Goodness.
But he gave me the greatest example of the fact that altruism and capitalism could coexist, and the generosity of spirit shouldn't begin and end with your family. It should be a part of your business.
That's so beautiful. That's actually what I'm writing a book on that at the moment, slowly.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's I'm really passionate about it. So tell me about this nonprofit.
Well, sometime during 2020, I woke up once again feeling brokenhearted. about some of the things that were transpiring. And I looked at my husband and I said, I can't do this. I can't just listen to the news and, it's inescapable. I have to just focus on a solution. Otherwise, I'm wired with hope in my bones. I'm a very happy person, naturally positive. And it was really the first time in my life I was coming up against this inescapable kind of negative, all the stuff. And my personal brand and the training and the speaking that I do kind of culminated in 2020 with this concept of giving people a journey to heroic joy. And what that meant for me was heroic. I think every woman that follows their dreams is heroic. I think every woman who, like I had to do, somehow got my kids to school and to practice and to doctor's appointments on time and made it back to build a career. That's heroic. I think anytime you put your heart, energy, and you just said you were so passionate about your book, living that out is heroic for me. That's the definition. And then joy, for me, it represents more than an emotion. It's like feeling love, but being loving. It's feeling respected, but being respectful. It's feeling grateful, but being appreciative for others. And so joy is an experience that is a feeling, but it's also in action. And so the idea of living heroically and joyfully, that was a big kind of culmination of my many years of speaking and training and the definition around it. And so the nonprofit is the Heroic Joy Leadership Academy. We're going to be working with young women and men, but mostly women, helping the next generation of future leaders discover themselves and provide mentoring and coaching and guidance, from relationship guidance to business guidance, entrepreneurial skills, branding, like literally everything, so that they can lead a balanced whole life that brings their dreams to fruition. And they may not have the means, because not everybody has the means for all of that kind of mentoring that I think is so needed. And so we've just recently gathered a group of people together who are really passionate about it. And I think it's an incredible fact that it was born in 2020, when there was so much negativity, that this idea was born. And it was one of the silver linings out of this last year.
It's so beautiful. That's it makes me so happy. It's my favorite thing in the world, is women supporting women, or just people supporting people. And because it is so needed, and so many of us, we walk along and think we have to do it all on our own, or it can just seem so heavy. And to have someone reach out their hand and, I can make it easier for you, or, it's just someone to lean on, even to not have that, really solutions kind of insert their way for you. But to have that support and that mentorship is so invaluable. You're going to change lives, and that's beautiful.
Well, thank you. That's the goal. I've been working with teens and young adults for over a decade, where I teach a leadership development program. Young girls as young as 9 years old, who have broken through literally a piece of wood, because that's what the event culminates, people that can break through something that they've written down on a piece of 1-inch thick pine wood. And she broke through anger at 9 years old. And in the same event, there was an 18-year-old young man who broke through fear of rejection. So one of the greatest blessings of my life was to accidentally find a coach that I didn't realize was my mentor. And until this day, we're such good friends, but it was one of the greatest blessings of my life. And I can't even imagine, like, if there's people who are intentionally seeking out to uplift, what that could do. The domino effect. That's one of the things I say all the time, is that may we never know the legacy that we create. People talk about leaving a legacy. Well, I hope that it's so big that it impacts the next generation and the next and the next, and that you don't know, that I don't know how transformative it could be. That's what my hope is anyways.
Yeah, I've never heard it put like that. Yeah, that's great. So how did you how did you do this and build what you have built whilst you had a young family?
Well, I feel like most women could relate to this. I think it was about a year and a half ago, I was writing a blog and I was like, the I can do it syndrome. Like I saw my little daughter when she was about 8 years old already having the I can do it syndrome. We're getting out of the car. Her soccer backpack is bigger than she is, but she's got that and she's got her books and she's got all this stuff. I'm like, honey, let me help you. And she's like, I can do it, mommy. I can do it. And I was like, wow, it starts that early that we just say we can do it. It starts that early.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
this idea that sometimes I can remember feeling like an octopus and there was someone or something pulling on every one of the tentacles, the business, the career, the husband, the mom, the sister, the kids, my personal self-care desires. And when you have that sensation of everyone pulling on one of those tentacles, it's almost like you're at a standstill. You can't move forward, and I think so many people feel stuck like that. And so to answer your question, how I did it, it was through a lot of learning and self-reflection. But I think I really realized it this last year, working with a lot of young leaders and women. I think one of the things that my parents gave me that I didn't realize was confidence. So even when I was stuck, even when I was feeling pulled in a million different directions, even though I was out of balance, I never doubted that I'd be able to get in balance. I never doubted that I'd be able to achieve whatever the goal was that I set. And now that I work with so many women and so many, especially young women, one thing I've realized is if you can enhance somebody's level of self-belief, confidence, and self-esteem, if you can elevate that, the domino effect in every area of their life is massive. And so I think how I did it was being very fortunate to have been brought up in a way that I had a tremendous amount of confidence. I don't think anyone would call me arrogant, but I knew that something could be accomplished. And if something could be accomplished by somebody else, then it could be accomplished by me. I just never doubted that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does. Yeah, it does. And someone once told me that principle, they were speaking with a child psychologist and they said, if you give your child that confidence, that self-belief, then I'll never see them. So
that's so great.
And so I can totally relate. And I'm living that right now. So I have a 10-week-old baby. It's my fourth child. We've got the two businesses. We're building a house. Like it's definitely the octopus. But you're right in that, like I've hired more staff. I've upped other people's hours. Like yeah. I know that like this is, this like right this week, but we've put things in place to get out of that. And so I can totally relate to what you're saying because I am living that right now.
It's so inspiring, so awesome. I remember when my oldest Morgan was born and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what life is all about, like this human. And then I was like, okay, after a few years, ready to have another one. And Shelby was born and I was like, okay, this is pretty much it. I have one in each arm. I cannot do more than that. This is my capacity. But I have so much admiration and I'm inspired by women who have larger families and the beauty that comes along with that. My mom was one of 9. Wow. So wow. I have a lot of cousins.
Yeah, no, I'm done. Four is good.
My sister has 4, all boys.
That's a busy house. If mine's anything to go by, that's a busy house.
Yeah, they're all grown now, but it was she emerged with sanity, which I think is really good.
Perfect. Very much a good achievement. So what would you say to the woman who is who is in the really early stages of a business, and it just seems a little bit hard. Like, it seems hard because they're struggling to get that traction. You know, when you're trying to push this like rock up the hill before you get the momentum where it rolls down the other side.
Yeah.
What would you say to that woman?
I would say that whenever you make a big decision and you've made a decision to start the business, everything starts from that, right? So you've made this massive decision. I think it's whether people call it the law of the universe or whatever they want to call it. It's pretty sure that at some point once you make that decision, doubt will come, a challenge will come, something's going to come to challenge that decision. And I think if you know that it's going to be there, you can recognize it and go, oh, I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that voice or that creeping doubt or tendency to procrastinate or whatever the things are, like, oh, I knew that was coming. Yeah, I don't need you right now. I'm good. And literally see doubt as an entity that you can usher out your front door the way that you would an unruly house guest or something. So I think doubt erodes a lot. And if I don't like the word toxic, but to me, doubt is almost toxic because yeah, well, we all know what you think is what you create, what you focus on is what you create. So if you allow that doubt to creep in, that's going to make the hill seem steeper and the rock feel heavier. And so acknowledging and recognizing it's going to happen. You're going to have doubt. You're going to have challenges. But as soon as you feel it, because you're prepared, you can usher it away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great way of framing that. And that's really good. I'm going to use that. I am. No, because it's so true. And even like I've seen this phenomenon lately with a few of my clients where they're going along okay. And they might even be, you know, a few months in and have some clients. And then they'll get this easy offer, like, you know, something from their past, from the old career, just kind of gets handed to them on a platter, being like, here's this job where it's multi six figures. And I think they've had to make this decision.
Yeah.
About like, do I go on the hard road that is what I really want to do, the work that I want to be doing, or do I take this really easy, like, you know, option from what I've been running away from, but that's like good money that I could use and then come back to this later.
Yeah. You know, which is one of the reasons I think, I guess, going back to my literature roots is the road less traveled. You know, it's why our soul has been brought here to grow. Like, so anyone who's endeavoring on an entrepreneurial path, I think it's such a beautiful expansion of themselves. And there's two beliefs that I have. And I always encourage people, if they come to my events, whatever, I'm like, even if you don't believe this, just for the next hour or 5, however long the thing is, join me in believing these things. One is that you are required, that your passion and your purpose unfulfilled leaves a void in the universe. It's like a puzzle piece, and what you bring is meant to fill that puzzle, and it's ever expanding. It's the coolest puzzle ever. But if you can adopt that belief, and then the other belief is one that has saved me throughout my life, that I've had for as long as I can remember, and that is every single thing that happens is for my good and for my benefit, even if I don't know or recognize it in that moment. And, you know, it's really hard when tragedy happens or really rough things. But in business, when there's just things that happen and you're unexpected this or whatever, people say, oh, everything happens for a reason. I like to think of it as much more than that, is that everything happens for our good and our benefit. And what's on the other side of it is worth it. So if you adopt that belief, when something happens, you don't always have to know why it happened. You don't have to know what the good or the benefit is in that moment. But if you just have that, I guess, faith and surrender, it just makes everything so much easier. And you don't get caught up in the spinning of, I can't believe this happened. And what about this? And this, it's like, okay, I just have this belief that and so I guess that also kind of is connected to a confidence that it is happening for something better. And it comes from a quote that many people know, that in every adversity lies a seed of equal or greater benefit. And that's where that idea came from. I know it's helped my daughters tremendously as they've gone through their life, and even with serious injuries. They were both college student athletes with full scholarships. And there's been times where I know it's helped them, and I'll start to say something and they're like, yes, I know, mommy. I know. I know. In every adversity is a seed of equal or greater benefit. And I'm like, oh gosh, it does sink in.
Does it? So when you repeated something 500,000 times, they begin to remember? Okay, good.
Well, I think the other thing that happens is you hear it 500,000 times, and then they hear it from somebody else once, and it's like, it's, that third party, all of a sudden, all of it just like helps it sink in. And I would say, like, I don't care where it comes from. They don't have to learn it from me. If the last thing that really helped it get in there was from somebody else, yay.
Yeah. And it is a really good perspective to live your life from, because then it's harder to be knocked off course.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So how do you speak to people about kind of discovering what their goals are?
I have an exercise that I do, and it's so interesting because I used to do this probably like 10, 15 years ago. I did it all the time in every event. And then it kind of got put on the shelf for a while because it seemed a little, I don't know, so simple. And just last year, I don't remember what triggered it. I was doing an event, I think it was from Microsoft, so it's this really simple starting point. And basically what it is that you discover the things that were easy for you to do and easy for you to learn, and talk about some of what those things are. And everybody has them. The problem is, if it's easy for us to do and easy for us to learn, we don't see a lot of value in it because it's easy, right? And there's so much value in it. For somebody, if it's easy for them to listen, they would like, okay, well, the guy next to me says it's easy for him to do trigonometry, so listening doesn't really seem like a great thing. But it is. It's a hugely valuable gift. And so I would start with people, if they're trying to discover their goals or their purpose, is really dive deep into what brings you joy, because the things that you're naturally gifted in, that's usually where your joy is. When you're joyful, you'll tend to pour energy into it. When you pour energy into something, you expand it. And so I would kind of start there with, what are your natural gifts? And very soon after that, how can they make a difference for others? How can you provide value with that? How can you focus on outside of yourself and what it's going to mean for others? For you to reach your goal, what does it mean for others, rather than the self part of, well, I want to be wealthy, or I want to be famous, or I want to be whatever. That's great. I think that's great. But how is that going to make a difference for someone else? And what's going to happen if you don't?
Yeah, that's a stinger at the end. what's gonna happen if you don't? Yeah. And how would you speak to people about cultivating that confidence again, in actually recognizing that their goals are the things that they're good at are valuable and can be used to the benefit of others?
Well, again, I don't know if it's my literature background or because I love words and quotes so much, and they've been such a huge part of my life. The very first thing that comes to my mind is a quote that I haven't shared in a while, but it's like, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You're not going to be given an idea unless you have the capacity to do something with it. And again, that's just a belief I have. And the thing that's so funny is, people will ask me, it's like, well, that's great. So you believe like you would never have an idea to bring something to the world unless you were given all of the capacity and potential to actually make it happen. of course, using other resources and, not just thinking you alone are going to do it. And they'll say, but like, that's not a belief, like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like, well, no, that's a fact. 1 + 1 does equal 2. But there's beliefs that we have, many of which that don't serve us. So if we know that some of our beliefs are false, why not adopt a belief that could possibly be true, that's going to serve you? Like, if I have an idea, I also have everything I need inside of me to bring that idea to life. Why not adopt that belief?
Yeah.
So that's what I would say for people to tap into that confidence, is to choose, make the choice to believe that you are required, that what you bring to the world is significant. And somebody, the other day I was listening to something, it was on Instagram, and this young woman was like, everyone talks about discovering your purpose, and I'm just so over it. There's so much pressure. You don't have to discover your purpose like it's some big thing. And I thought, gosh, that made me so sad. Like, how did that become pressure? I feel like our purpose is our privilege. It's not about pressure. It's about the privilege of being gifted desire and passion, and then choosing to do something with it. So it was really this odd, and I don't mean to be saying anything negative about her. That was her perspective, but it seemed a little sad to me, because your purpose, everything about bringing your purpose to life, to me, should feel like joy, not pressure.
Yeah. And what we're created for is to give back and to make a difference in some capacity. But yeah, I guess in her journey, that's where she's at. And yeah, you're right. It's sad, because it can be, if you are working from that place of joy, that the things that bring you joy that you're good at, then you're naturally going to be making that positive impact on other people. So
yeah. I would hate for someone to think that it's this big responsibility or pressure, but I do believe our dreams, our passions are both our privilege and our responsibility,
Yeah.
There's joy in responsibility. That's not, so.
Yeah, that's definitely been a journey for me too. As like, I started my business to be home with my family more, and be able to sustain my family. And once that was done, it was like, oh, my vision is way too small. and like, yeah, okay, like what else should I be doing? And it was a journey. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's part of the beauty of it.
Yeah. And I love that we are so connected now globally, that our vision and our mission and everything that we're doing can be just spread so far and wide now. It's so amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Like we can be speaking from across the planet.
Yeah.
It's great.
I had a woman in one of my online coaching courses join from South Africa, and I'm in Southern California. So that was one of those moments where I really embraced technology for what the gifts of it are. But it is really cool. Definitely one of the silver linings that has been, I think, revealed over the course of the last however many years, is our ability to be so interconnected globally.
Yeah.
Because we're interconnected whether we like it or not globally. So
yeah, it's something I cherish, especially because I'm, right at the bottom of Australia. This is so far away. But through these podcasts, I get to speak to people from all over the world.
I have to say, I've been very fortunate to be in Australia and New Zealand quite a bit. And I remember the first time I went, I came home and I told my daughters, I'm just letting you know, if we ever have to start life over, we're starting life over in Australia. And it does remind me of my home in Encinitas, California, where I was, at least I was on the coast. So
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I'm right on the coast and down the bottom.
Yeah.
So Lynda, tell me, where can people find you where can people connect in with what you're doing? What if people want more of you, which I'm sure they are, I'm sure they do, because you're such a wealth of knowledge. You've got this beautiful presence about you that that I know I want to tap into more. So please let everyone know where they can get more of you.
Thank you so much. It's just my website, lyndacormier.com. I've recently decided that I want to combine everything that I do and have one umbrella that's going to help build the nonprofit too. So I'm super excited. I'm not even sure if it's done on the website because I have somebody helping me with it. But yeah, if you go to lyndacormier.com, you can follow me. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook under just my name. And I spell my name with a Y, which I'm not sure why my mom did that. She's from Central America. So it's Lynda with an I in Spanish. But anyways, I'm not sure why that happened. But I guess it's a little different and that's nice. And yeah, I'm really, really excited because I'm doing something that I think is going to be able to be accessible for many, many, many people, which is just a membership that gives them 10% of it goes to the nonprofit. They get to be a part of a community and twice a month live coaching with me and meeting other people who want to work and to elevate and uplift. And I'm also doing a subscription box, which I'm so excited for that membership. Every 8 weeks, somebody gets a surprise gift. And it's like one of my favorite things. It might be a book. And I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. So I'm throwing as much as I possibly can into a $99 membership, but it's really all so it can go to build the Leadership Academy, the Heroic Joy Leadership Academy.
That's incredible. Amazing. Thank you so much, Lynda, for joining me today. I really love this conversation and I wish we could go for longer, but I'm really going to be respectful of your time. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing in the world and everything that you shared with us today.
Thank you. I so appreciate it. It's such a joy to connect with you. And I love the fact that we're getting to do this from so far away. And yet it feels like we're just, sitting in the same living room.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Thank you, Lynda. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Impact Business Show. 2 things you should know before you go. First, come and join the party. I'm live with free marketing training in the Social Marketing Method Facebook group every single week. That's where you can ask questions and get the answers you need to simplify your strategy and amplify your income. Go to annalisewarren.com/group to join and come and network with an incredible community of like-minded business owners. Now, second, if you have got any value from this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe and share it out on your socials. Your support helps us reach more purpose-driven entrepreneurs and increase our impact in the world. Thank you, and I will see you next week. Bye.